that what you do is you actually hamstring women by telling women they should go and be girl boss babes and go to college starting in their 20s. They actually destroyed their prime reproductive years. They destroy them by having families later. It's the primary
cause. Okay, that's silly. I'm 23.
Hang on, listen.
It's
the primary cause for the reproduction.
Okay, let me bring in Stasia, who's been grimacing throughout that. Stasia, why are you so outraged by what he's saying?
I'm not outraged. I just think that you all are fairly stupid. And everything that's being said is ridiculous. And it's just like a comedy show.
You think you can change your sex? How can you ever call anybody stupid? How can you ever call anybody stupid?
Yeah,
you
she
think
should
you
sit
can
that
change
one
your
out.
sex? The only thing you have no arguments. You just try to assault me personally. You can try, but the truth is that I've reproduced. I am married.
How did I assault
do
you?
have
I
the
asked
life.
you if you're married.
No, you didn't. You were making a passive-aggressive
I mean,
feminist
Wait, how did I assault
about how my
you?
wife
Sound
must be
literal.
miserable.
Andrew,
your wife must be miserable.
To be fair, Andrew is practicing what he preaches.
Watch this episode of Piers Morgan, where Andrew Wilson absolutely destroys Emily Austin, who is a covert feminist, just like Tommy Lauren is. And she comes up with these nonsensical and ridiculously insane debates and arguments on women and working, and Andrew Wilson just destroys it. Hope you like this video. Make sure you like and subscribe. Let's get into it.
On the subject of it, because Andrew made a lot of news on social media with his debate with Tommy Lauren last week after accusing her of being a covert feminist. Let's remind people of that clip which went viral.
Most men are born to be protectors and providers. I can't imagine my dad saying, you know what, to my mom, you know what, I'm not going to be a protector and a provider unless you do this. That's not how real men operate. Real men are protectors and providers, and they marry women who hopefully have some virtue, but also bring a lot to the table as well, that are great mothers, great wives, caretakers of the home. There's nothing wrong with being a traditional wife and mother.
So, Emily, where do you sit? Are you a covert feminist like Tommy? Did you agree with Andrew's assessment?
I'm not a covert feminist. I am very outwardly... You know, the word feminism has been hijacked by, like, the woke left, who uses it as an excuse for psychotic women and liberals to scream on the streets, we want equal rights when we have equal rights. I'm more so an empowered woman who encourages other women to, you know, be independent, work hard, chase your dreams. And that doesn't come at the expense of being feminine. It doesn't come at the expense of, now as a feminist, you need to eradicate all men. I don't think everything is so black or white. Listening to that debate, they spoke a bit about gender roles, and here's my take on that. If you're gonna have gender role expectations for your man, that's a personal choice. Emily Austin has high expectations of her man. He has to be working hard, he should be successful, he should, you know, pay attention to how I feel. Like, there should be certain gender roles. He has to provide for the family, not solely, but he should be providing for his family. These are gender roles. As a woman, I learned how to cook, I know how to clean. My grandmother always tells me, my mother tells me, Emily, you're gonna be a good wife, you're gonna be loyal, you're gonna be supportive, you're gonna act like a lady. Now, there's many women who don't want to play into the gender roles, which is fine, but then don't expect your man to go out and become masculine. I think it's equal. Like, set the expectation and then date people who meet your expectation. But in terms of covert feminism, first of all, it's such a silly term. Either you support women or you don't. And I'm not talking about the trans argument right now.
Not only is it not a silly term, it is true that most of the political pundit women on the right are covert feminists. And I'll just ask you the same exact question I asked Tommy.
Because the word feminism
Hang on,
got
let me finish.
hijacked.
Let me finish
That's
the question. Let me finish the question. No, I'm talking about all the way back to first wave feminism. Okay, you are feminist, and I'll explain by asking you the same question. If it is men's duty in society to procure, refine, protect resources, which then women and children are the primary beneficiaries of, which they are. What societal duty, which is equal to that, do women have? What is it?
Women, we're going to have children. Men will never understand the burden of carrying a child.
So you have a duty to reproduce?
I expect women to be able to cook and clean.
Wait, so you have women have a duty to reproduce?
Absolutely.
Okay, great. So that's the one duty that's on par. Great. So that's one duty that's on par with that. I totally agree. Are they? Or is it the case that in every single nation in the West, we are under reproductive rates in every single one of them? In every single nation in the West, we are lower than where we need to be for reproduction. So it seems that men are fulfilling their social duty and women are not. And the problem with the right is that the
Yeah.
right doesn't ever address this, and right-wing females never address this. Instead, they
I
say
think
it's
we do.
equal. Work and motherhood are equal. They're not equal. Not only are they not equal, but let me give you another example here. As you dive into this, try to understand that what you do is you actually hamstring women by telling women they should go and be girl boss babes and go to college starting in their 20s. They actually destroy their prime reproductive years. They destroy them by having families later. It's the primary
Okay, that's
cause.
silly. I'm 23.
Hang on, listen.
I'm not
It's
having
the
a kid
primary
anytime
cause
soon. My
for the
kids will be just fine.
reproduction crisis. It's the primary cause of the reproduction crisis in the West, is that with women defer families till they're in their 30s. Why do you think the average age of marriage is 32 in the United States? I think it just got raised to 33. Yes, you're going to have way less kids. Okay, part of girl bossing is when you say career women are right on par with mothers. They're not, and society should be glorifying one, not socially shaming the other, but you shouldn't give them the same elevation you give to mothers and matrons of families. That is pure covert feminism.
Okay, I'm going to answer you with the following. I don't believe in the glorification, and especially I see it amongst Gen Zers, of not having children. I actually think it's disgraceful, and I don't think it's a flex at all to brag about not wanting to repopulate. It just shows me that you're so insecure that you're going to be a bad parent that you're not doing it. On the other hand, I'll ask you a question in return. Would you prefer a child growing up in a damaged family with a mother who clearly wasn't ready to raise a child and raise potentially what could be a deranged child who grows up to be a serial killer or a murderer, or how about this, just a really bad person, rather than wait a few more years until she's ready to have her kid and then raise a mensch? What do you prefer?
Andrew Wilson destroys Emily Austin, who supposedly is a conservative journalist on the right politically. She makes a good point, saying that she doesn't believe that women should celebrate not having children, not being a wife. But then at the second point, she is trying to make this point in which she really shows her true colors, being a feminist, is that why would a woman have children early and potentially be in an abusive relationship and not be ready and the child go through abuse instead of waiting just a couple of years and then all of a sudden the relationship is going to be healthy and the child is going to end up healthy. This is absolutely a ridiculous perspective that's not logical at all. If a woman is not ready to have children and she's abusive and the child is going to end up abused and she's not psychologically, mentally ready to have a child and the child's going to end up in detrimental situations, a couple of years is not all of a sudden going to put you ready to be a mother. It's absolutely ridiculous, especially when you bring up the word abuse. She has no idea what she's talking about. This is just a feminist perspective in which they are trying to rationalize the fact that they're trying to wait until they're 30 plus years old to have children, which is stupid and ridiculous. It's more healthier and women are primed to have children in their late teens to early 20s. And most of the women are getting IVF in their 30s, close to 40s, because they can't have children because they waited too long. So I hope you're liking this video. Make sure you like and subscribe. Let's continue the video. Andrew Wilson is going to keep destroying.
Well, so here's what we can see when we break this down. What we see when we break this down is the abuse happens in the public school, where you're 100 times more likely to be essayed than you are if you're in a Catholic church. We see that if it is the case that you're a single mother, you are a single mother, especially by choice, that is usually the selection of stepfather that leads to the abuse of the children. We also can see via the stats that you're completely just insane here. You are actually, if you stay inside of a family where you mom and dad don't even like each other, your outcomes are still better than if you, the girl boss, goes, I just don't feel fulfilled. I don't feel fulfilled, and so I need to go and date the neighbor down the road or whatever, right? The truth is that regardless of your fulfillment, children are the duty. The next generation is the duty, and women have a duty to keep the family intact as well. They're responsible for most of the divorces. They file for the most amount of divorces, not because of abuse, but because of irreconcilable differences. And when asked, I don't feel fulfilled. And it's like, that's not how we run a society. It's literally a death sentence for our whole society. Look at what's going on in the UK. It's a death sentence for them.
Okay, let me bring in Stasia, who's been grimacing throughout that. Stasia, why are you so outraged by what he's saying?
I'm not outraged. I just think that you all are fairly stupid. And everything that's being said is ridiculous. And it's just like a comedy show.
You
being
think you
played
can
out by
change
himself.
your sex? How can you ever call anybody stupid? How can you ever call anybody stupid?
Yeah,
You
she
think
should
you
sit
can
that
change
one
your
out.
sex?
Hey, I'm just sitting back watching the shit show happen. I'm here for it.
All
How
right,
is that
Julie.
possible?
You started the shit
you were
show,
not.
honey.
Well, hang on. I want to get Julie to respond to Andrew.
Oh, I zoned out and I thought I'd woken up in the 1950s in some TARDIS. You can't take him seriously. It's ridiculous.
Oh, you mean in the 1950s? You mean in the 1950s when we had intact families where 95% of women were getting married as virgins, where families weren't being broken up, where crime was extremely low, where you only needed one income to support an entire household, where mental illness was at an all-time low? Like that 1950s? I'm
you
sorry that I
wallow in
make a
your
reference to a
fantasy.
time.
You
how do
Sir,
I
are
make
you
a
married?
reference?
Are you
Yeah, I'm
married?
married. How do you make married with many children?
Is your
How
wife
about you?
happy?
You married with children? Oh, she's ecstatic.
No, I'm 23.
She's
I'm
gonna
a
bring
boss
me-
lady girl, which seems to
Yeah.
be driving you crazy.
Yeah.
Working, making
Yeah, well, I'm
money,
just pointing
waiting
out
for the right guy to
the
come
only
along.
thing you have no arguments. You just try to assault me personally. You can try, but the truth is that I've reproduced. I am
How
married.
did I assault
do
you?
have
I
the
asked you
life.
if you're married.
No, you didn't. You were making a passive-aggressive
I mean,
feminist
to be
Wait,
fair,
how
to
did
be
I
fair
assault
to
you?
about how
Andrew,
my
You
wife
sound
must be
literal.
miserable.
Andrew,
Your wife must be miserable.
to be fair, Andrew is
She might
practicing
be.
what he preaches. I want to bring in another clip from a debate between Megyn Kelly and Matt Walsh on the similar theme. Let's watch a little clip from this.
Again, having said that, I like the guy. I'm getting a little tired of his nonstop judgment of women who make different choices than the ones he wants us to make. Sorry, Matt, you're not our Jesus. We don't answer to you. Like, live your life the way you want to live it and stop judging everybody who makes a different choice. I'm sick of it.
Covert feminist.
And she went on to say this about young men not wanting to marry career women. Let's take a listen to this.
We're now telling young, conservative, amazing women that they're not attractive if they also work. If they choose to, let's say, do what I'm doing and what you're doing and like get their voice out there. But I'll stick with me just because I think conservatives listening to this will like the thought of another Megyn Kelly voice up and coming.
Now, Matt Walsh responded by saying
Piers,
men
can I
are
tell you the
generally not
beauty of all of
attracted
this?
to ambitious career. Well, hang on a minute. I want to read a clip from Matt Walsh, or a quote. He said, men are generally not attracted to ambitious, career-driven women, and women's first priority should be children and looking after the home. So, Emily, what do you think of that?
I think the beauty about free will is you make a choice who you want to spend your life with. Like, I know many men are okay with, a woman who works, and I know many men are not. And that's the great part is you choose who you want to partner with. So if you want a woman to be home and have 5, 6, 7, 8 children, which is a beautiful choice to make in life, then go for it. If you want a woman who can do both, work and have children when she's ready, 2 or 3 children, then go for that type of woman. If you want a woman who's never home and going to be on the road all the time, and trust me, there are many beta men who would love that, then go for that. Like, nobody is forcing you to be with a woman that doesn't cater to your needs, the same way no one's forcing any women to be with a guy like Andrew Tate that's going to beat you and make you miserable. We have choices, and we need to make calculated, wise choices as to what personally is best for you.
The Andrew Tate fallacy,
Julie,
instantly moving over to Andrew Tate is evil and a representation of men who believe in a patriarchal system. Here's the truth. The truth of the matter is that we should be doing for society what is socially good for society. If we can't reproduce our society, that's a really bad social ill for society. When you have propaganda that is telling women to go
my
get useless
uterus
degrees
is for me
in
and my
psychology
husband. It's
and
not for
sociology.
society.
Yeah, that's great. Let me finish.
It's actually
I mean,
quite,
Andrew,
it's quite
Andrew,
sad.
hang on. There's Andrew quickly. Is Megyn Kelly a covert feminist then? By your
Not covert,
criteria?
overt. She's an overt feminist. Covert's out for Megyn Kelly. Megyn Kelly came out and said women should be prioritizing career over family. That's what Matt Walsh's issue was with her, and he's absolutely right. The guy struck it out of the ballpark. Socially, in society, we should be moving women into a familial role. It's not to say that women can't work. Nobody's saying women can't work. We're just saying that if you're going to glorify things in society, it should be the mother in the intact home and the wife and the caretaker at home, not the girl boss. That's insane. And it's a societal death sentence. Walsh knows it. Everybody knows this at this point. If you can't reproduce your own nation, you don't have a nation.
Andrew Wilson says this beautifully, and Emily Austin again says these ridiculous things. This is why Tommy Lauren was destroyed in this debate by Andrew Wilson in a previous Piers Morgan Uncensored episode. She first says that if you as a man want a woman who works a little bit and also can have children, then that's fine. That's great and that's beautiful. But yet she makes arguments against that particular narrative. But then she says, if you want to be with a woman who's working hard, constantly on the road, and this, that, and the third, then there are plenty of beta men who are out there who want that. But then in this particular conversation, she talks about how she's not going to get married because she's working on being a boss babe in her career. So she is saying that she wants to be this career woman, essentially, who's on the road all the time. And she's almost admitting that she's going to be with a beta man because that's the type of woman she's going to be, this boss babe on the road. So it's nonsensical, the argument she's making, because she's definitely not going to be the woman who stays at home or works a little bit and works some and then takes care of the kids. No, because if that was the case, she would be doing that right now. But she says she's working on her career to be highly successful in this, that, and the third. Fine. But the arguments are absolutely nonsensical. And that's why Andrew Wilson is destroying her in this particular interview. Hope you like this video. Make sure you like and subscribe. See you on the next video.